Hey guys, it's Marcus from Clearday, and see the hat? Merry Christmas and all that stuff. Anyway, so I'm gonna take you guys back a little bit. The story of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas is one of my favorite growing up. So here, take a listen, see what you think.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. I in my kerchief and Dad in his cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, ho, 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 on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blixen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow. The beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team, gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, unto all a good night."
Now, growing up, we had lights in our house, but it was never to the level of some of these guys. Take a look at this. It gets kind of wild, doesn't it?
There's always that one house that takes Christmas decorations to the extreme, lighting up the whole neighborhood with thousands of lights and props. Today, we'll be looking at the top 15 next-level Christmas decorations. Number 15. the Hyatt Christmas House. Every year, families across the world put up Christmas decorations around their homes, with some striving to outdo their neighbors at all costs. For residents in Plantation Acres, Florida, however, this was always going to be a futile endeavor, because they live near the Hyatt family, who for several years put on one of the most fantastical Christmas displays you'll ever see. Known as the Hyatt Extreme Christmas, the family's plans were always so huge and outrageous that they would have to start construction works in September. They'd install almost 200,000 lights, a 20-foot-tall Ferris wheel with stuffed animal passengers, a 30-foot-tall Christmas tree, life-size gingerbread men, a snow machine, and a 20-foot screen that played Disney movies on a continuous loop. There are 8 homes on the cul-de-sac where the Hyatts live, and each year they dread the noise and the commotion that it would all cause. But the displays always proved popular for others, and people would travel from miles around to see it for themselves, with some families considering an evening at the house to be a Christmas tradition in its own right. With increasing pressure from the authorities, though, the Hyatts were forced to reduce the number of days that their display was turned on, and due to family difficulties, they stopped it altogether a few years ago. Still, for those who were fortunate enough to see it in real life, the whole experience remains a fond Christmas memory. Number 14. The Kobe Luminary Light Festival. In 1995, the city of Kobe in Japan was struck by a huge earthquake that resulted in the loss of 4,600 lives. But rather than have a somber memorial each year, the locals instead host the Kobe Luminary Light Festival as a sign of hope and recovery from a time when the city was left in darkness. Held in December alongside the Christmas celebrations, more than 200,000 individually painted lights are displayed around the city, and amazingly, they're all powered by electricity that's generated from biomass fuel, making this one of the most environmentally friendly Christmas light displays in the world. The lights are donated to the city by the Italian government, who sent artists to Japan to help with their design, creation, and installation, and they're switched on for several hours each night for 2 weeks. It's become an annual tradition for people from across Japan and the rest of the world, and regularly attracts 3 or 4 million visitors each year. As well as providing a breathtaking display, there's a serious fundraising side to the festival, and it usually raises several $1 million to assist the families of those affected by the earthquake, and to help the less fortunate residents of the city. Number 13. St. Augustine, Florida. The city of St. Augustine in Florida was first founded in 1565 by Spanish explorers, and holds the record for being the oldest continually inhabited European settlement in North America. As a result, this is a place that's steeped in history, and one of the most spectacular traditions is the annual Nights of Lights Festival. Held around Christmas each year, it's been running for 26 years, and has its roots in the Spanish tradition of lighting a white candle in the window over the Christmas period. This is now expanded to the next level in St. Augustine, though, and begins with the huge Christmas tree in the Plaza de la Constitucion, and countless lights illuminating the surrounding trees and buildings. Most businesses and restaurants take part in the festivities, and barely a window, doorway, or any part of a building can be seen that doesn't have a twinkling light placed in it. It's one of the most magical Christmas displays that you'll ever see, and is understandably regularly voted as one of the most recommended places to visit in the world during December. Number 12. Robo-Lights. The Robo-Lights Festival began life at the home of artist Kenny Irwin Jr. in Palm Springs more than 30 years ago, and it became so popular that in 2018 it took place over a 4-acre site and attracted hundreds of thousands of people each year. The basic idea was that any object Irwin could get his hands on could be turned into a lit decoration, and so he's made hundreds of unusual objects that are put on display and are interspersed with more traditional Christmas-looking pieces too. With almost 1 million lights, pieces of scrap have been turned into moving robots, futuristic woodland creatures, and strange sculptures. While it may sound bizarre, everyone who visited left with fond memories of the place, but Irwin began to run into difficulties. First was the cost of powering the display, which led him to try to crowdfund online. And the second problem was that his neighbors were less than enthralled by having his creation on their doorsteps. After the 2018 event, he was forced to agree to shut it down for good. But never one to give up, he has now plans to build a Robo-Light park bigger and better than before in Desert Springs, so it may not be too long until he can welcome visitors once more. Number 11. Shiodome Caretta Illumination. For most of the year, the Caretta Shiodome in Tokyo is a shopping center like any other. Its 47 stories are full of stores, cafes, restaurants, and entertainment facilities. But it's during the winter time that the building truly comes into its own and draws more than 500,000 people every year. That's because they go to the next level with their decorations and fill the spaces with more than 250,000 of LED lights, along with fantastical trees and other structures. Each year, the display follows a theme, often in collaboration with Disney. So in 2018, it was designed to look like a Christmas ball from Frozen, while in 2019, it was inspired by Aladdin. It's such a popular event that it runs for longer than most Christmas displays, with the first choreographed light show beginning in mid-November and the last taking place in February. The 10-minute music and light spectacular takes place every quarter of an hour, and as well as featuring the LED lights, also uses lasers, pyrotechnic effects, and music from the movies too. As well as the main Christmas display, the space is set aside for exhibitions based on that year's theme. These often include photograph spots where visitors can take selfies with characters or backgrounds from the movies, and also have the chance to see memorabilia that was used on the set during filming. Number 10. Lego Christmas Tree. Since it was first created in 1949, Lego has become one of the most popular toys in the world, allowing you to create virtually anything you can imagine. It has gone on to inspire movies, video games, and amusement parks, and it's at Legoland that you'll see some of the biggest and most inventive creations of all. In recent years, the Legoland California resort has become particularly renowned around Christmas time, because it's there that they build the largest Lego Christmas tree on Earth. Standing more than 30 feet tall and illuminated with 11,000 LED lights, it's built from more than 245,000 bricks, and is surrounded by a range of other structures. The switching on of the lights has become an annual tradition, and it's done by celebrities, with recent VIP guests including Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. During the festive season, visitors can also see a brass band playing by the tree, are covered in artificial snowflakes, and can join Santa's elves as they sing classic Christmas songs. It's a true celebration of all things Lego and Christmas, and this is by far the most popular time at the resort. Number 9. Luce de Artista. Cities and towns across the world install light displays to celebrate the festive season each year, but one that stands out above the rest is the town of Salerno in Italy. For 14 years, they have held the annual Luce di Artista festival, which sees the streets filled with lights and decorations, as well as a large Christmas market with stalls selling souvenirs, presents, and virtually every type of food you can think of. It attracts over 1 million visitors each year, and the decorations cover such a vast area that there's no way you can take it all in at just one night. From the giant Christmas tree in the central square to the variety of animals, street lights, illuminated tunnels, and fairy tale-inspired installations, every direction you look, there's something new and amazing to explore. There's also a variety of fairground rides to go on too, but the most popular has got to be the almost 200-foot tall Ferris wheel that gives the opportunity to get a bird's-eye view of the town, and it's only then that you truly realize the scale of the celebrations. We're constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. Brook Green Gardens. Brook Green Gardens is a botanical garden, sculpture park, and wildlife reserve in South Carolina. It covers an area of around 9,100 acres, and while it's a popular destination throughout most of the year, it's the Christmas celebrations that are truly next level. Known as the Nights of 1,000 Candles, 4,500 candles are positioned around the central gardens and lit every night by volunteers, who also stay on hand to relight them if they get blown out by the wind or visitors. Along with these are a further 2 million electric lights throughout the rest of the site, which illuminate the sculptures and plant life in a spectacular fashion. The Christmas tree itself has 130,000 lights on it, and the event has become so popular that more than 5,500 people visit each night while it's on. As you can imagine, it takes a huge amount of organization to prepare and requires the efforts of 150 staff and volunteers who begin setting it up 3 months before opening night and spend a further 2 months taking everything down again. Number 7. Cathedral Square. Cathedral Square in the capital city of Lithuania, Vilnius, is the heart of the city and is where all the major celebrations take place. It's in the square that the residents hold parades, music concerts, exhibitions, and fairs. But the biggest event of all takes place at Christmas time, when a huge 88-foot tall Christmas tree is installed and is surrounded by other installations such as a life-size nativity scene and other monuments that celebrate Christmas and the history of the city. It's the tree that takes the pride in place though, and there's nothing else quite like it. The decorations on it change every year depending on the chosen theme, but one thing that remains is a canopy of 70,000 bulbs that hang from the very top of the tree and branch out to stalls that are arranged around it. It produces so much light that it's visible from planes landing at the airport several miles away, and is said to illuminate the sky so much that it's impossible for residents to see the stars, and often makes animals believe that it's still daytime. Number 6. Miracle on 34th Street. Every year on the 700th block of 34th Street in Baltimore, Maryland, residents hold the Miracle on 34th Street display. Most of the row houses take part in the tradition that began in 1947, when the movie with the same name was released, and it sees thousands of bulbs and decorations adorning the buildings, which creates a wondrous valley of light. People visit from miles around to see it for themselves and can expect to see countless Christmas trees, trains, animatronic figures, projections, Disney characters, Hanukkah menorahs, and a number of other artworks and installations that are not so traditional. There is, for example, a sea of Santas and Frosty the Snowmans, and one resident who's lived there for decades has become famed for his collection of hubcap Christmas trees. Residents often choose a theme for their own individual displays, which can range from anything between peace and harmony to pirates and magic, and various stalls along the street sell refreshments and souvenirs to visitors. Miracle on 34th Street has become controversial in recent years, however, due to the amount of noise and traffic it creates, and the amount of energy that's used to power the lights. There have, though, been efforts to introduce LED bulbs and other designs that use less electricity, and despite the concerns, the residents insist that they should continue with a tradition that's been going for almost 75 years. Number 5. Tivoli Gardens. Tivoli Gardens is an amusement park in Copenhagen, Denmark, and having opened in 1843 is the second oldest amusement park in the world. As you'd expect, it has plenty of things to keep the family entertained, from roller coasters and rides to shows and restaurants. And while summer remains the most popular time of year for visitors, it's managed to keep relevant during the winter months with an incredible Christmas display. At least 70,000 Christmas baubles are hung from the trees and lampposts, and more than 1,000 Christmas trees are arranged throughout the gardens. The stunning concert hall at the center of the venue is used as a canvas on which images and light displays are projected, and hundreds of thousands of lights are strung along the garden's pathways and rides. Furthermore, wooden houses are placed at every turn, and snow is sprayed everywhere to give the feeling that you're in a Nordic winter wonderland. Santa and his reindeer are on hand to welcome people to the gardens and to take a last-minute gift request from children. And for the adults, a large Christmas market is built that offers everything from decorations to trinkets to snacks, meals, and overly alcoholic beverages. For many people in Denmark, it's the best time to go to Tivoli, and it's a Christmas tradition to ride on the wooden roller coaster that's more than a century old, while eating sugary treats and looking down on the light display beneath. Number 4. Rio's Floating Christmas Tree. Rio de Janeiro is the party capital of the world, which is known for its Carnival and New Year's Eve celebrations that see 2.5 million people descend upon Copacabana Beach. But Christmas is also an incredibly important time for the residents, and they have one of the most spectacular Christmas decorations and displays that you'll see anywhere in the world. There are lots of cities that pride themselves on having the biggest Christmas trees, but Rio has gone one better. Every year they unveil the world's largest floating Christmas tree. First shown in 2014, the magnificent structure is 278 feet tall and is decorated by more than 3 million lights. Of course, it's not actually a living tree, but is instead a gigantic metal structure that floats on a specially constructed barge in the city's Rodrigo de Freitas lagoon. The lights change color throughout the night, from orange to represent sunrise to blue for its moon phase, green and gold so it looks like traditional Christmas tree with candles, and then multicolored stars. It took more than 1,200 producers, engineers, and artists to create it, and it floats to different positions in the lagoon throughout December each year. It's supported by 5 dedicated generators on barges to provide enough power to keep the lights on, and on certain nights is also accompanied by an elaborate fireworks display. Since its first introduction, the tree has become a point of pride for the residents of Rio, who see it as further proof that they know how to party and celebrate better than anyone else in the world. And based on how next level they took the idea of a Christmas tree, they aren't wrong. Number 3. Diker Heights. There are plenty of places you can go in New York to see incredible Christmas displays, but while most people might think Rockefeller Center is the place to go, those in the know head in the other direction to Diker Heights in Brooklyn. It's one of the most spectacular neighborhood displays you'll find anywhere in the world, and it's a tradition that was begun in the 1980s by Lucy Spata, who moved to her new home and wanted to carry on her mom's love of Christmas lights. At first, the other residents weren't convinced and even tried to get her to take her displays down. But as more and more began to join in, they were soon overcome by the Christmas spirit. Most of the families put their lights and decorations up after Thanksgiving, and it's thought that millions of lights adorn the streets each year. Some of the homes have so many decorations in their front yards that it's hard to know where to look, but it's almost guaranteed that whatever direction you're headed, you're bound to see some Santas, reindeer, elves, angels, and every other creature, object, or image that you associate with Christmas. At least 100,000 people visit Dyker Heights every year, which is nowhere near as many as visit other Christmas sites in New York. But for those who do go, it's the secret treasure that continues to amaze. It's where you'll find, for example, the biggest Santa in all of the city, who is 15 feet tall and proudly sits outside the Palazzano home, and one of the largest collections of nativity scenes and singing toy soldiers. One of the things that's most surprising, though, is the sheer scale of the festivities. Now stretching from 11th to 13th Avenues from 83rd to 86th Street in Dyker Heights, you can go on a guided tour on foot and by bus, which takes 3.5 hours to see everything on display. Number 2. Lutztopia. Normally, when you think of Christmas, you imagine snow falling down on rooftops and people wrapped up warm, drinking hot drinks. But plenty of people in the world live in hotter climates, and they do things a little differently. One of the best places to go for a warm weather Christmas is Monterrey in northeastern Mexico, where every year they celebrate the Lutztopia Festival. It began in 2017 and sees more than 15,000 lights and 250 gigantic illuminated figures being put on display along a 2-mile stretch of canal through the Paseo de Santa Lucia district of the city. The lights and sculptures have a distinct Mexican flair to them and are unlike any decorations you'll see elsewhere. They are representations from cultures around the world, and you'll see a variety of famous world landmarks given the Lutztopia treatment, as well as famous characters, images, structures, and things that are on the verge of bizarre and strange. There's a 60-foot-tall Christmas tree, a 49-foot-tall castle, a magical tunnel, and of course, a Christmas villa where Santa lives. It's not all about bright colors and unusual imagery, though, and there's a whole section devoted to a more controlled use of white lights to illuminate tree canopies and create a romantic and peaceful setting amongst the mayhem that surrounds it. Furthermore, there's an extensive Christmas market that sells toys and gifts, as well as souvenirs from the festival. And instead of being served a hot chocolate or mulled wine, you can sit back and relax in the warmth with a nice cold beer or iced chocolate. Number 1. La Fête des Lumières. France is undoubtedly one of the cultural centers of the world, and having been the country that's inspired so many artists and creatives throughout history, it should come as no surprise that when they put on a celebratory display, they're almost certain to go a step above what anyone else is capable of. The city of Lyon is a place steeped in history with its own traditions and causes for celebration. And every year the residents take part in the Festival of Lights, which is a way of showing their gratitude towards the Virgin Mary, on and around December 8th. Historically, multicolored candles would be placed on the outside of windows across the city, which would create an incredible effect. But more recently, with the advent of electric lights, things have gone to the next level. The celebrations focus around the Basilica of Fourvière, which is lit up in an array of color, and the Place des Terreaux, where a special light installation is displayed each year. The creative minds from Lyon, most of whom have grown up with the festival, incorporate as many new technologies and techniques as they can with each display, as well as the main performances that usually include projected images and lasers which are choreographed with music. Various artworks are positioned around the city, which encourage people to interact with them in unique ways or to simply watch from a distance. The festival attracts lighting designers from across the world, and you'll normally see museum curators, design consultants, amusement park operators, special effects producers, and people from a wide range of industries roaming the streets during the 4 days that the festival takes place in search of the next best thing. La Fête des Luminaires never fails to surprise and astonish visitors and leads the way in showing the incredible experiences that can be created with light. If you ever get the chance to visit, this is one Christmas celebration you don't want to miss. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos.
Wow, those guys go a little bit overboard with their decorations, but hey, all in the Christmas spirit, right? Here is a next-level performance by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, synced with the house and the Christmas lights. Check this out, see what you think. Okay, so you know Dancer, you know Prancer. How many reindeer does Santa have? And is Rudolph included in that number? Take a look.
Santa's reindeer. Dasher. Dancer. Prancer. Vixen. Comet. Cupid. Donner. Blitzen. And Rudolph. Merry Christmas!
Now, speaking of Jolly St. Nick himself, do you know where the whole origin of Santa Claus comes from? We got it for you.
He sees you when you are sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake. If you live in the Western world, you already know this line from Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Harry Connick Jr. We've all heard the songs and seen the movies, but you may not know the true story behind the legend of the man who can fly around the world in just a single night. And you might now be wondering, why am I wearing a hat that is not a Santa Claus hat? And that is because for this very special Christmas video, I wanted to get a Santa Claus hat, but apparently I have a giant head, and this Christmas tree hat was the only thing that would fit me. I'm going to take this off, and we're going to get on with today's video. Nicholas of Bari was born in the 4th century in the town of Myra, located in Asia Minor. This is now modern-day Turkey. His parents were wealthy Christians who had trouble conceiving a child for many years. They prayed to God every day to have a child of their very own, and as soon as they finally conceived and gave birth to a son, they saw it as truly a miracle. Sadly, Nicholas's parents, they would die of an epidemic that had spread throughout the city of Myra, leaving him to become a young orphan. He was raised by his uncle, who was the bishop of Myra, who had never had children of his own. He was very proud of his nephew, especially when he grew up to be a very well-behaved boy. His uncle apparently announced to everyone in the church that he had a vision that his nephew would grow up to bring joy to many people. When Nicholas grew up, his uncle's prophecy actually did come true. He was always kind to others and went out of his way to help people. As an orphan, Nicholas had a special place in his heart for children, and he would often help them make handmade toys to play with. Even though he was from a wealthy family, he still had a lot of sympathy for the poor, and he wanted to do whatever he could to help. There was a man in the town who had 3 beautiful daughters, but he was so poor he could not pay for a dowry. This meant that his daughters could not get married, and they would have to be sold into slavery because the father could not afford to support them. Nicholas wanted to help, but he did not want to hurt the father's pride by offering a donation face to face. So he dropped a bag of gold down the chimney, which landed in their stockings that were hanging up to dry. The father and his daughters, they jumped for joy, believing that God had finally answered their prayers. He was finally able to pay for the dowry, and his oldest daughter went on to get married. Nicholas came back to do this again for the 2 younger daughters, which is when he was caught in the act. Everyone knew this gold wasn't just appearing out of thin air, and people began to whisper around town about young Nicholas and his kind heart and his generosity. Nicholas was a very simple person who didn't need a lot to be happy, and the money didn't mean much to him. But he knew that his donations could be life-changing for other families in Myra. He decided to continue paying attention to people who needed the most help in the city, and he would always anonymously give away his inheritance to other people. After this story spread around town, people began to leave their stockings and shoes by the fireplace in hopes that they would receive gold from Nicholas as well. Soon after this, people throughout the city of Myra were receiving anonymous presents that would mysteriously appear in their homes. This sparked a spirit of giving, and neighbors were now helping out one another in their time of need without fear of hurting their pride. Anytime an anonymous gift would show up, they decided to thank Nicholas, even if he wasn't the one to actually deliver every single present. People began a rumor that since this man seemed to be able to be in many places at once, he was more than just a devout Christian man. They believed that he had been blessed with magical powers. Now he truly did begin to travel across Turkey, and he reached a point where he had given away all of his earthly possessions, which was totally fine with him. He, at that point, devoted his life to becoming a monk. We know with absolute certainty that Nicholas truly was a real person, because he grew up to take over his uncle's position as the next Bishop of Myra. There are records of his participation in the First Council of Nicaea, including his outspoken outrage over the corruption that he saw within the Catholic Church. In one story, Nicholas witnessed a horrific scene where children had been kidnapped, and he was then able to rescue them. He was seen as such a holy man that he was later canonized as Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of children and, surprisingly, sailors. That's right, St. Nick loved to travel even back then. He sailed along the coasts of Asia Minor and dreamed of seeing the entire planet. For years to come, sailors would continue to pray to St. Nicholas to help them whenever they were on a long voyage. Legend has it that one day Turkish sailors were out at sea, and the wind and waves were so strong that the men were afraid that the boat would capsize. They prayed to St. Nicholas for help, and he appeared before them with his arms outstretched. He was able to control the weather and calmed the ocean, and the sailors made it home safely. This was just one of the many examples of the stories of St. Nick's extraordinary magical powers, and it just may be a good explanation of how Santa manages to travel in his sleigh through all kinds of weather. The fantastical stories of St. Nicholas lasted for longer than just one lifetime. His story continued to go on for another 1,000 years. It would seem that the magic behind his generosity was so inspiring and powerful, it was enough to keep him alive in the hearts of mankind for generations to come. From the 4th to the 16th centuries, Nicholas became one of the most popular Catholic saints. People continued to pray to him, wishing for his help in their time of need. As time went on, he preferred to receive letters rather than prayers. It was probably much easier for him to keep records this way. Stories of St. Nick's magic and generosity began to spread throughout the rest of the world. In the Netherlands, Belgium, and Switzerland, children began to leave their shoes outside on St. Nicholas Day so that the jolly Sinterklaas could leave them presents. Sure enough, small toys and candy were left for them when they awoke in the morning. After the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther wanted to do away with the stories of Catholic saints, so he said that these presents were actually coming from the baby Jesus or Christkindl. People were confused, of course, because they knew that the real gift giver was the jolly old St. Nick delivering the presents to these children. So Christkindl was misunderstood to be Kris Kringle, and the nickname stuck. After the Revolutionary War, there was a movement to reject many of the English ways and start new traditions that were uniquely American. An author by the name of Washington Irving had already made a name for himself by writing and publishing American folk tales that had been told by word of mouth, like Rip Van Winkle and the spooky Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This became a Halloween classic. So when he heard about the Dutch story of Sinterklaas, he decided to officially give him the properly American-sounding name Santa Claus. This is how St. Nick officially became a part of the American Christmas tradition. Over the next few hundred years, the public would learn more about Santa Claus than they ever had known before. In 1809, Irving wrote in his book Knickerbocker's History of New York about a surprising Santa sighting in Central Park. It read, "The good St. Nicholas came riding over the tops of the trees in that self-same wagon wherein he brings his yearly presents to children." He went on to explain that Santa took a break to smoke his pipe of tobacco before getting back in his wagon and flying away. Fortunately, as you might imagine, modern Santa has given up smoking, but he has replaced it with a serious cookie addiction, so it's not exactly kind on his ever-expanding waistline. As the years went on, more and more writers would elaborate with additional details about Santa Claus. In December of 1823, a writer named Clement Clark Moore was walking through the snow on his way home. Under his arm, he had a Christmas turkey for his family, and looking around at the beautiful scene, he was suddenly inspired to write a poem titled A Visit from St. Nicholas. But you probably know that as The Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in the hopes that St. Nicholas would soon be there. This became an incredibly popular poem. It so perfectly captured the Christmas spirit that in just a few years, nearly every American would know it by heart. Instead of thinking of his time living in Turkey as a 4th century saint, people now imagine Santa Claus to be a chuddy, jolly old man who climbed through the chimney to place presents in stockings and leave them wrapped up under the Christmas tree. So St. Nick had always been a sailor and an avid traveller throughout his lifetime. Navigating the open sea is no easy task, especially before the benefits of GPS. But he wanted to get around on land at a much faster pace. In 1821, an anonymous author wrote and illustrated a story called Old Santa Claus with Much Delight. For the first time, the public learned that Santa had upgraded his ride from a rickety old wagon and a boat to a proper sled pulled by a single reindeer. In 1889, poet Catherine Lee Bates introduced the world to Mrs. Claus, and we got to know a little bit more about St. Nick's personal life. We still don't know exactly when they got married, but this couple have what is probably the longest-lasting marriage in history. We also don't know if they ever had any children together. As the years went on, the public learned more about Santa's progress in his mission to bring joy to the world. We learned that he moved his new secret hideout to the North Pole and he hired a team of elves to run his workshop. We were introduced to his extended fleet of 8 magic reindeer, and in 1939 he added the newest member of the team, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In 1891, even the President of the United States was promoting Santa Claus. Benjamin Harrison told the press, "We shall have an old-fashioned Christmas tree for the grandchildren upstairs, and I shall be their Santa Claus myself. Let me hope that my example will be followed by every family in the land." The very first video footage ever captured of Santa Claus was in 1898 by a filmmaker named G.A. Smith. The world could see him leaving presents for sleeping children on Christmas Eve. Of course, as time went on and modern technology improved, more and more people were capturing footage of Santa Claus. It was finally time for him to come out of hiding and make his first public appearances. Moving into the 20th century, Santa Claus was always hip to the modern times. During the Industrial Revolution, he was able to improve his operations with his elf employees working the assembly lines in his workshop at the North Pole. Santa became more like the CEO of his toy empire, making sure the operation ran as smoothly as possible. Now that he wasn't running his workshop alone, he was finally able to make the time to begin making public appearances. In 1924, he decided to be a part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. He received such a warm welcome from his adoring fans that he decided to reappear every single year ever since. So long as the organizers meet the demand on his rider to provide him a tall glass of milk and some warm chocolate chip cookies in the green room. The 1980s brought the boom of the shopping mall in the United States, and this began the tradition of Santa Claus taking personal requests from boys and girls. There is even a massive party called SantaCon held every year in New York City, which isn't even a real convention, it's just an excuse to dress as St. Nick and party in the streets. There is also the Liverpool Santa Dash and so many other events all around the world that are thrown in his honor. Moving into the 21st century, modern technology has helped us truly break down the science of just how Santa manages to make his journey. You can track St. Nick's progress on Google Maps' Santa Tracker, and in 2016, The Mirror did an intensive study of the statistics of Santa's magical journey on Christmas Eve. They discovered that in order for him to deliver presents to every single child in the world on a single night, he would need to travel at speeds of 1,280 miles per second. Even though the world loves Santa Claus, that doesn't mean his legacy has been free from controversy. Indeed, he is often blamed for being at the root of making the holiday season about material things rather than having young people remember the true meaning of Christmas. Commercialism is a very real thing, of course, and there is no denying that Santa Claus has helped sell billions of dollars in products every holiday season, from Coca-Cola to Barbie dolls. But in a world where religion and politics divide so many people, there are very few things that Americans agree on quite like the tradition of Santa Claus. Every December the 24th, children go to bed and they wake up at the crack of dawn, hoping they will find presents underneath their Christmas tree. For many, it's one of the very few memories we all share of having faith in something and the experience of childhood wonder and the belief in magic. But sometimes Santa Claus can't do everything by himself, and he needs to recruit help in unexpected ways. Just one example of this was in 2011. A young couple named Jim and Dylan moved into their new apartment on West 22nd Street in New York City. Then they started to get letters in their mailbox addressed to Santa Claus. They thought it was a joke, of course, and they went to the post office to see if there was a forwarding address for the previous tenant. They were told that yes, there was, but it was simply put as the North Pole. At first, they didn't know what to do with these letters, and they had no idea how these random children got their address. They even thoroughly searched for why on Google. Eventually, they decided that they could not ignore these letters. Many of them were heartbreaking letters that came from underprivileged children. Dylan and Jim began to pass out letters to their friends and co-workers who all shared in the responsibility of buying presents for these kids. Soon enough, word spread on Facebook, and they were able to get hundreds of letters fulfilled by kind-hearted volunteers. They now run a charity called Miracle on 22nd Street, where anyone can volunteer to help out with the letters to Santa. If you're still unconvinced in the existence of Santa Claus, there are few words that can better express the truth than those of Francis Purcell's Church. In 1897, an 8-year-old girl named Virginia Hanlon wrote to the New York Sun saying that her friends in school told her that Santa Claus was not real. She asked the church to tell her the truth, and they published this reply. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as sure as generosity and devotion exists, and you know they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary the world would be without a Santa Claus. And just here at Biographics, we want to say that Santa Claus does exist as long as he's in our hearts. And with that, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
That was pretty awesome. I found out some things I didn't quite know about jolly old St. Nick. But hey, everybody has their own opinions. Now, here's another thing. What is the greatest Christmas movie ever? And does it have to be just during Christmas? Or can it actually be Christmas related? I mean, there's a lot of questions. We debate it all the time. Me and my friends are crazy. Here is a list, because someone always puts together a list. These are the top 20 ever that they say. What do you think, and what are your favorites?
God bless us, everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 best Christmas movies of all time.
Merry Christmas.
How dare you enter the Grinch's lair!
For this list, we're looking at our favorite Christmas flicks, including holiday specials, but focusing on movies where Christmas plays a large role in the plot, which means we are excluding alternative Christmas movies like Die Hard, as awesome as it is. So, which Christmas movie gets you excited for the holidays? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. All right, ho ho ho, let's get into it.
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God!
Number 20, Love Actually.
So if you really love Christmas, come on, let it snow.
Whether you love it or not, nobody can deny that this rom-com oozes Christmas spirit. While we all know the main storylines, it's the minor ones that really shine here. The aging rock star who professes his love for his manager, the actor stand-ins who adorably fall in love, the little kid who wants to impress his crush by playing drums and eventually runs through Heathrow Airport. No matter how many times we see it, every holiday season we remember why we actually love this movie. Number 19, Bad Santa.
I've seen some pretty shitty situations in my life, but nothing has ever sucked more ass than this.
Based on the premise alone, you can tell that Bad Santa isn't going to be a conventional holiday movie. Billy Bob Thornton stars as Willie T. Soak, an alcoholic who dresses up as a mall Santa in an elaborate scheme to rob department stores. His collaborator is Marcus, who plays one of Santa's elves. As dark and mean-spirited as this black comedy can be,
I said next, goddammit.
our main character does manage to find an eensy-weensy bit of good in himself and embrace the magic of the holidays. It's ultimately a tale of redemption, and in Willie's case, even the slightest good deed could be seen as a Christmas miracle.
Okay, make me some sandwiches. I gotta go to the mall and talk to somebody, and I'll be back.
For dinner?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Number 18, The Bishop's Wife.
There are too many people who don't know where they're going and they want to get there too fast.
If you haven't seen this classic Christmas movie, put it on your list this holiday season. The Bishop's Wife stars old Hollywood film stars David Niven, Cary Grant, and Loretta Young, telling the story of a bishop who asks for divine intervention in his quest to build a cathedral. Grant plays Dudley, an angel who comes to lead the bishop onto the right path. The story culminates on Christmas Eve, when all the characters have finally realized what is really important to them, and all is right with the world.
Let us ask ourselves what he would wish for most. And then let each put in his share.
Number 17, The Polar Express.
I believe.
Even if you didn't see this Robert Zemeckis film as a kid, it'll undoubtedly make you feel young at heart, especially when viewed during Christmas time. Based on a children's picture book of the same name, The Polar Express uses a unique 3D animation style that makes it feel almost real. The story is one rife with childhood nostalgia, following a boy who boards a train headed for the North Pole.
I've wanted to do that my whole life.
Just because this flick came out in the 21st century doesn't mean it doesn't have all the makings of a perennial holiday classic, though. If you believe, you know you'll still hear that bell ring, no matter how old you are.
Well, you coming?
Number 16, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Welcome to Halloween Town. All hail the Pumpkin King. From the mind of Tim Burton, this stop-motion animated film has developed a massive cult following, and its hero has become an emblem of misunderstood souls everywhere.
Jack, the Pumpkin King.
Nobody does Halloween quite like Jack Skellington, but he decides to try celebrating a new holiday upon stumbling upon Christmas Town. What ensues is a holiday mashup of epic proportions, as the season to be jolly clashes with the season to be scary. The big question is, do you watch this movie at Halloween, at Christmas, or both? Number 15, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Dr. Seuss's classic holiday book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, has been a perennial Christmas favorite and has been adapted for the screen several times.
Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you?
Jim Carrey's performance in the titular role, however, is what sets this version apart.
Mr. Grinch, I came to invite you to be Holiday Cheermeister.
Holiday Hoopy Whatty?
While we, of course, have a soft spot for the 1966 animated TV special, this adaptation is laugh-out-loud funny and features plenty of jokes that are clearly meant to entertain older audiences.
5:30, jazzercise. 6:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. 7 o'clock, wrestle with my self-loathing. I'm booked.
Because it's a feature-length film, we also get expansions to Dr. Seuss's original tale that take the story in wacky directions that no one could have expected.
The presents, they'll be destroyed. And I care! What is the deal?
Number 14, The Santa Claus.
Name? Santa Claus. Name? Père Noël. Babbo Natale.
This story starring Tim Allen manages to ignite that spark of childhood wonder that we all once felt about the magic of Christmas.
Hey, you! What's that? Oh. Whoa,
When divorced dad Scott Calvin accidentally causes Santa to fall off his roof, he finds himself having to take St. Nick's place.
It's okay, I'm used to it. I lived through the 60s. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Watching Scott try to convince everyone around him that he's actually Santa is pretty hilarious.
Santa?
Scott Calvin.
It's a movie that's filled with fun and sentimental moments, taking viewers to the North Pole and back.
Who are you?
I'm Bernard. Nice to meet you, Santa.
As Scott rediscovers his belief in the unbelievable. While the film spawned 2 sequels, the original is definitely the best.
Merry Christmas to all.
To all, and good night!
Number 13, Scrooged.
3 ghosts.
3 ghosts, Frank. Expect the first one tomorrow at noon.
God, tomorrow's bad for me, Lou.
Charles Dickens' classic novella A Christmas Carol has been adapted countless times for both animated TV specials and serious feature films.
Call security, have them change his locks, clean out his desk, and toss him out of the building.
Oh, he's fired? But it's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting. Stop his bonus.
In this modern take on the story, however, Scrooge is actually a TV exec named Frank Cross, played by Bill Murray, who's trying to force his staffers to work over Christmas.
You don't like Christmas much, do you?
Like it? I love it. It's cold, and people stay home and watch television. Ad revenues go up 30%.
Just like in the original tale, the loathsome protagonist is visited by a series of ghosts who show him what the meaning of Christmas is all about.
Where are we? Where are we? You mean where are we?
This version is both poignant and funny, leaning heavily on Murray's comedic wit.
Clear the whole world clear.
Number 12, The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Hello! Welcome to The Muppet Christmas Carol.
The Muppet version is a perfect adaptation for the younger set. The well-known tale of Ebenezer Scrooge, his employee Bob Cratchit, and Tiny Tim is modernized to feature Muppets in all the major roles, as well as a few welcome additions like Gonzo the Great playing Dickens himself, and Rizzo the Rat adding humorous commentary throughout.
Oh, is it too early for breakfast?
Yes.
Oh, good. Supper time.
Oh, and of course, there's Michael Caine as Scrooge. The songs are catchy, the story is time-honored, and the jokes never get old. The Muppet Christmas Carol will always be a favorite.
Humbug.
Number 11, Frosty the Snowman.
And when I start to melt, I get all wishy-washy.
Kids' Christmas specials aren't supposed to make you cry like a baby, are they?
What'll we call him? Yeah, shall we call him Harold?
Bruce?
No matter how many times we watch Frosty the Snowman, we'll never forget the horror of the first time we witnessed Frosty melting and fully believed he was done for. Luckily, this story always has a happy ending. While we're all familiar with the TV special by this point, did you know that it was actually based around the classic Christmas song by Walter E. Rollins and Steve Nelson?
Come on, Frosty. We're all waiting for you. Happy birthday!
Romeo Muller, who worked on the stop-motion Rudolph, adapted the song into this special. Number 10, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
Frosty the Snowman isn't the only animated special by Rankin and Bass Productions that went on to achieve Christmas classic status. 5 years earlier, the 1964 stop-motion version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was broadcast on our TV screens.
Rudolph, I think you're cute.
The special won the hearts of many with its timeless tunes, inventive story, and unforgettable cast of characters. Featuring an elf who wants to be a dentist, a bouncing bumble, a helpful prospector, and of course, the eponymous red-nosed reindeer. No holiday season is complete without it.
Ready, Rudolph?
Ready, Santa?
Number 9, White Christmas.
Just like the ones I used to know.
Are you dreaming of a white Christmas? No matter where in the world you live, you can have one when watching this vintage holiday movie. The well-known holiday tune was previously performed by Bing Crosby in 1942's Holiday Inn, but was reprised in this 1954 film.
Sleigh bells in the snow.
Crosby also stars in White Christmas, which is set after World War II and tells the story of two entertainers who have to work together to save their commander's lodge. It's a heartwarming setup that's sure to bring out the Christmas spirit in all of us.
Counting your blessings.
Number 8, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la.
John Hughes wrote and produced this entry in the National Lampoon's Vacation franchise. The Griswold family is trying to celebrate Christmas, but of course, there's no way it's going to go smoothly. This is perfect viewing for those who want to feel as though at least someone's having a worse holiday season than you are.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever got. God damn it!
While Clark may not get the fun, old-fashioned family Christmas he was hoping for, it's a good reminder to temper your expectations and simply enjoy spending time with the people you love. Number 7, Elf.
Santa's coming to town.
Oh my God!
It's not often that a movie immediately becomes a holiday classic, but that's what happened when Elf hit theaters in 2003.
I told him his father had never even known that Buddy was born,
And most importantly, I told him where his father was, in a magical land called New York City.
Will Ferrell had one of his most iconic performances in this movie about an orphan raised at the North Pole who decides to go meet his biological dad in the big city.
I'm here with my dad, and we never met, and he wants me to sing him a song. And I was adopted, but you didn't know I was born.
The fact that Ferrell is quite an imposing man only makes his elf costume all the more ridiculous.
First we'll make snow angels for 2 hours, and then we'll go ice skating, and then we'll eat a whole roll of Toll House cookie dough as fast as we can, and then, to finish, we'll snuggle.
It's absurd and hilarious, and will keep you laughing from beginning to end.
The clausometer suddenly just dropped down to 0. There's just no Christmas spirit anymore.
If you're lacking holiday cheer, Buddy the Elf will be sure to bring you some. Number 6, Home Alone.
He knows I ate sausage and olives and
Look what
onions
you did, you little jerk.
Home Alone is an annual must-watch for the antics of the Wet Bandits and their epic takedown by Kevin McAllister. Kevin learns the hard way that you should be careful what you wish for when he imagines a world where his family disappears.
I hope I never see any jerks again.
While there are a lot of unrealistic aspects to this story, both Harry and Marv probably should have died several times over from the accidents that befall them, we can suspend our disbelief and enjoy the ride. This movie is full of unforgettable moments that will make you laugh, make you cringe, and make you wonder how a family could possibly leave one of their children behind and fly to Paris.
What else did you do while we were away?
Just hung around.
Number 5, Miracle on 34th Street.
You've got them mixed up. You're making a mistake.
A man named Kris Kringle finds himself taking over the position of Santa Claus at Macy's department store when he points out that the previous Santa is drunk on the job.
Could you be Santa Claus? Have you had any experience?
Oh, a little.
But Kris ends up being a little too genuine in his interactions with people, telling them the truth and even recommending they shop at other stores.
Well, the only important thing is to make the children happy. And whether Macy or somebody else sells a toy doesn't make any difference. Don't you feel that way?
Ultimately, he claims to be the real Santa Claus and leaves everyone in a tizzy.
What is your name?
Kris Kringle.
Where do you live?
That's what this hearing will decide.
This is a holiday classic that stands the test of time and reminds us that anything is possible when you believe in the magic of Christmas.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus.
Number 4, A Christmas Carol.
A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle. God save you. Humbug.
Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol remains beloved because its message is perpetually relevant.
What right have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Though it has been adapted many times, the 1938 film is a staple in many households around the holiday season and is considered by many to be the ultimate version of the tale.
Who are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
You already know the story, but if you haven't seen this retelling, it's time to give it a try.
I shall change my way of living. I will try to keep Christmas all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirit of all three shall be in my heart.
If you've already seen the 1938 adaptation countless times, give the 1951 version a try because it is also a favorite.
God bless us, everyone.
Number 3, A Charlie Brown Christmas. When it comes to annual Christmas specials, is there anyone you look forward to watching more than this? After viewing A Charlie Brown Christmas, you could never look at an artificial tree the same way again. You might even be more inclined to pick out the saddest one in the lot.
We'll decorate it, and it'll be just right for our play.
This special has been airing since 1965, and there's a reason it's never gone out of style. It's so simple and yet so poignant, sincere, and touching. Are your dance moves ready for the school Christmas pageant? We hope so. Number 2, A Christmas Story.
Hey, Boris, how'd you like a snowball sandwich?
A Christmas Story is a holiday film that doesn't sugarcoat how difficult it is to feel like an outsider in your own family.
Ralphie, what did Aunt Clary give you? Show everybody.
It is always playing on repeat on cable, so you'll be sure to catch a glimpse of it whether you want to or not.
There it is. The holy grail of Christmas gifts, the Red Ryder 200-shot range model air rifle.
Ralphie desperately wants an air rifle for Christmas, but his mother won't allow him to have one because, as she famously says,
"No, shoot your eye out."
Along with Ralphie's main story, we see vignettes featuring his family and other characters, making this a well-rounded movie that's extremely rewatchable.
Now you get yours.
We've seen dramas, comedies, stop motion, cartoons. So, which Christmas movie beats all the others? Well, we have some honorable mentions to get through, and then we will get to our life-affirming #1 pick for best Christmas movie of all time. Jingle All the Way.
Oh, these cookies! I gotta get the recipe from Les. Put that cookie down now!
Arthur Christmas.
A child's been missed!
Do you want to wake up the whole North Pole?
Good idea! A child's been missed!
A Christmas Tale, also known as Un Conte de Noël.
On va doucement. Je peux pas. Tout à Noël sobre.
The Holiday.
Iris lives next door to Arthur. He's a doodly-doo.
The Apartment.
Did you hear what I said, Miss Kubelik? I absolutely adore you.
Shut up and deal.
Want more Mojo? Ms. Mojo produces original, high-quality pop culture-related videos on all your favorite movies and shows. Plus, celebrity news, fashion, lifestyle, and more.
Hey guys, it's Phoebe with Ms. Mojo.
My name is Sam.
My name is Eliza.
And I'm Emily.
I'm Rebecca, and welcome to Ms. Mojo.
If you want videos on all the best reality shows, teen dramas, Disney movies, and sitcoms, be sure to check out Ms. Mojo for new videos every day.
#1. It's a Wonderful Life.
Hey, this is my dance.
Oh, why don't you stop annoying people?
Well, I'm sorry. Hey!
Could we have picked anything else for our #1 spot? There's a reason why It's a Wonderful Life is considered the essential Christmas movie.
George is a good guy. Give him a break, God.
It has a pretty dark beginning, but its magical realism teaches us a valuable lesson about the importance of a single life.
Please help me, Mr. Potter. Help me, won't you, please? Can't you see what it means to my family? I'll pay any sort of a bonus on the loan, any interest.
By seeing how the world would have looked if George Bailey had never been in it, he realizes the impact he's had on those around him.
Bert! What do you know about that? Merry Christmas!
It's sentimental, it's uplifting, and it isn't Christmas without watching it.
To my big brother George, the richest man in town.
So how many of these movies do you make a point of watching every year? I'm at like a solid 10, and my first watch is usually Scrooged. So be sure to share in the comments below what your Christmas movie watching traditions are. Or come tell me on Twitter or Instagram at Rebecca Brayton, or on my YouTube channel. See ya, and happy holidays.
Hey, that's it for today. We've had a lot of fun, we've got a lot of knowledge, we saw a lot of crazy decorations. Never mind, I won't do that. See you guys later. Have a good day.